Today, on Be Something Wonderful, why it manifests fast when you give up and just forget about it. I am your host, Tom Kearin, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, welcome back to the studios of Be Something Wonderful here in Las Vegas. Big video today. I want to talk about this session with this client. It says, Tom, why is it that when I just give up and I forget about it, that it manifests, it seems to manifest fast? This was with respect to a deposit that she was gathering for a house that she wanted to buy. And for weeks and weeks, she was imagining and affirming that the money would come in, right? Versus she was also focusing on being in the house. But as soon as she let that go, right? As soon as she believed that she was giving up and forgetting about it, right? Not efforting, not struggling, the money came in. Of course, because remember, you might try to give up or forget, but Source never forgets. Your awareness of being never gives up and never forgets. That changeless structure is already there. It's a structure of changeless fulfillment. And so when you have an intention, that Source fulfills it because it's coming from fulfillment. It's a structure of fulfillment. But when we try, when we struggle, when we go through mental gymnastics of trying to affirm it in, right? Really holding on to it, then we're not allowing us to see, or allowing that structure that's underneath that structure of fulfillment. We're not seeing that it's already fulfilled. We're not seeing the reality that's already there. Do you see it? So Source moves with the intention and expectation of fulfillment. The 3D personality moves by desiring and fearing non-fulfillment. Do you see it? The structure of Source is fulfillment. The intent or divine urge is to extend and experience itself as love. That's why intending and expecting fulfillment is powerful, right? As Source, you intend and then expect fulfillment. You expect to experience that, have that physical manifestation or demonstration as a 3D experience. You intend it and expect it versus desiring and then waiting for it, right? That's coming from the fear of non-fulfillment. You're trying to build on a shaky structure that's always crumbling. The structure of I am not yet who I desire to be. That's a shaky structure. The structure that never crumbles, that never changes, that's always there is I am that who I desire to be. It's your I am awareness. It never gives up. It never forgets, right? But when you're trying to hold on to it, that 3D personality moves by fear and desiring, right? Desiring and waiting versus intending and expecting. That's the difference. Some ask the difference between waiting and expecting. Expecting comes from the knowledge or the knowing that it's already fulfilled, that it's already there. And so you're intending it versus desiring it. Intending comes from a structure of fulfillment, from a knowing that you're already fulfilled, that it's already there. And you're experiencing that as Source. Again, it's you as Source, as all that is, experiencing yourself as Source, as all that is, from a different perspective, from a different vantage point, a different viewpoint. But you can't see it from that viewpoint of desiring and waiting, from that viewpoint of fearing non-fulfillment, from trying to build on a shaky structure of I am not yet, right? So that structure is always crumbling. The intent of Source, or your I am awareness, is to extend love, to experience and contemplate itself as love. That's why I said there's nothing more powerful than focusing on the love of what you want, because that aligns with that structure of fulfillment that never changes, that will fulfill. That's all it does is fulfill. It's fulfillment and more fulfillment, right? It's the beingness, not the thing. It's not focused on the thing or the fear of non-fulfillment or not getting the thing or where is the thing. It focuses on the beingness of fulfillment, extending love, contemplating itself. So when you focus on what you love, you're focusing on intending love as that love itself. It's not like our 3D personality that there's something missing or lacking that needs to be fulfilled, right? Where we're resisting and we're rejecting and we're judging and defining outcomes as some acceptable and some non-acceptable. That all comes from non-fulfillment. But rather you want to experience yourself as source, as that fulfillment. That's the structure that's never shaky, that never crumbles, that's changeless. You're accepting and allowing all possible outcomes from fulfillment, right? You're giving it because you get to give them all the meaning that they have. Do you see it? From here, you believe you can't define what those outcomes mean. You believe there's a built-in meaning. Some are wanted, some are not. Some are acceptable, some are not. That's you judging those. As source, you get to give them all the definition, the meaning of fulfillment, because you're source of it all. So you accept and allow it all. And you define what those outcomes mean. Because they're always changing. Remember, conditions are always changing. You have those changing thoughts and feelings. You have the changing people, events, and circumstances. But the structure that never changes is that higher thought, that higher feeling of your source that we talked about in a video a couple days ago, right? That's what we're talking about here. So accepting and allowing all possible outcomes is not about settling for less, giving up or modifying your desires. I've had all of these discussions with this client and others. Or wanting it less. It's not wanting it less, right? How do you not want what you want? It's not any of that. Rather, it's about focusing on the higher thought, the knowing that all potential outcomes, all realities, all identities exist within you as potential. That nothing is final, that failure and non-fulfillment is impossible, that conditions are always changing into what you want because you say so. That's powerful. Do you see it? Because I am that I am. That comes from that higher thought, that higher feeling of source, that core vibration of fulfillment of who you really are. That's powerful. So let's continue this. That's the paradox, right? It's your resistance to the possibility of failure and non-fulfillment that creates it. Or in other words, that makes it possible. It's impossible, but your resistance to it, that's the whole paradox of this. It's your resistance to the possibility of failure and non-fulfillment, not allowing all outcomes to exist, not allowing all possibilities to exist, that creates it, that makes it possible. The experience of failure and non-fulfillment is created from the unreality of that lower thought and feeling, I am not, versus the higher thought in knowing that I am that I am. No matter what, I am what I am focused on the love of what I want, not the lack of it. You give all outcomes all the meaning they have. Define all outcomes as your fulfillment unfolding. And that's what they must be. When you define them as fulfillment unfolding, that unshakable structure of I am that I am, that awareness of being that never changes, instead of building it on a crumbling structure of I am not, a crumbling structure of fear and non-fulfillment, then all conditions then must unfold. They must represent, change into the meaning that you're giving them. Do you see it? Conditions are always changing, and they change into the meaning. The appearances change into the meaning you give them. Right? Remember, when you're not moved by appearances, appearances move. They change into what you want them to be. The paradox is that you can accept and allow the worst case scenario. We've had this, we're so afraid of that worst case scenario. The paradox is that you can allow and accept the worst case scenario because you know from that higher thought there are no worst case scenarios. Do you see it? That's the paradox. You can accept and allow it because from that higher vantage point, you know there are no worst case scenarios, that you're source, right? So not accepting and allowing the possibility of worst case scenarios puts your focus on not feeling. Like, I don't want to feel, I can't have that happen. It will be a disaster if that happens. Rather than on what you want and on what you love, knowing that failure and unwanted outcomes are impossible unless you give them that meaning, unless you create them. That's powerful. Focus on what you love versus versus focusing on not feeling, right? That worst case scenario, allow it because you know it's not possible. That's why you can allow it. Right? Because you give everything meaning. It's not about wanting what you want any less. It's not about that. Want it. Love it. It's about giving all outcomes the meaning of your fulfillment unfolding as a physical manifested experience. All outcomes are from fulfillment. All outcomes are unfolding for what you and leading you to what you want. All of them, you give them that meaning. That's powerful today. Desiring and waiting is I am not yet. That's the crumbling structure that you're trying to build on, right? Non-fulfillment, trying to get fulfilled from the fear of non-fulfillment. You can't get there from there, right? Instead, intend and expect it. That's different. That's not waiting. That's fulfillment. That is I am who I say I am. That's a source. That's you as source. Expressing yourself as fulfillment. Source expressing itself as love and fulfillment through you, right? It's the Son of God expressing itself through you as the Son of Man, right? That's powerful. Seeing and defining all outcomes from the identity I am already that which I desire to be. It's from the love of fulfillment. When you know yourself as source, and the judged unwanted outcomes become an expression and demonstration of that source or of that fulfillment versus source and evidence of non-fulfillment. Hear it again, right? And this goes back to the Gospel of Thomas, right? When Jesus says, when you know yourself as source, or you'll know yourself as the Son of the living God, right? The Son of the living God. But if you don't know yourself as source, as Son of the living God, you will live in poverty, and you are that poverty. If you remember, I've quoted that many times. Know yourself as source, and those judged unwanted outcomes become an expression and demonstration of that source, of that fulfillment, versus those outcomes, that judged unwanted outcome being a source and evidence of non-fulfillment. Because they're not source of anything, but you give them power and authority to be some source and evidence of non-fulfillment. There is no source of non-fulfillment. There's only one source, and it's fulfillment. There's only one source, you. I am God, and there is no other. But you treat them as a source and evidence of non-fulfillment. You get to decide it all. That's powerful today. Desiring and waiting. When you're desiring and waiting, you're saying no to what you don't want. Right? You're saying, no, I don't want that. You're saying no to God. You're saying no to reality. Do you see it? And there is no no. There's only yes, yes, yes. It's only fulfillment, but you create the idea that I am not that person I want to be yet. Intending and expecting is focusing on saying yes. Yes to what you want. Yes to what you love. Remember, it's an inclusive universe. It's an inclusive infinity. It includes everything. So when you say yes, 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 you're saying yes to fulfillment, yes to everything unfolding perfectly, yes to living the life of your dreams, instead of saying no to what you don't want. That's saying I'm not yet who I want to be. Say yes to God, yes to reality, yes to life. I am source of all outcomes. I give life in all meaning it has. I give it the life in all the meaning it has. To take a light touch while taking your existence as the one and only source of your reality seriously. Do you see it? We take that manifesting and creating in life too seriously on one hand, and on the other hand, we don't take being source, that power, being all power, being the one and only reality seriously enough. Have fun, extend love, see all outcomes as fulfillment unfolding no matter what they appear to be. Have a light touch, have fun with this, but know that you are the one and only source, right? So that's why Seth, through Jane Roberts, that non-physical entity channeled through Jane Roberts in the 60s and 70s, said, on one hand, you take life too seriously. On the other, you don't take it seriously enough. In other words, you take that manifesting and creating so seriously and you moving through life. But on the other hand, you don't take yourself as source, as the one and only reality, as the one and only God, as that I am awareness, as the Christ, the Son of the living God. You don't take that seriously enough, right? That's what we're talking about here. Being source, I am, is about allowing and accepting all changing conditions, all thoughts, all feelings, all people, events, and circumstances to unfold as they are. Knowing that you give the meaning. You give all the meaning to that unfolding. And the meaning you give them changes them in that moment. And it changes your experience of reality as source. You intend and expect from love and fulfillment versus desire and waiting from fear and non-fulfillment. Do you see it? You expect that from love and fulfillment versus desire and waiting from fear of non-fulfillment. That's powerful. You are that fulfillment. You are that love. You are that structure underneath that's changeless, right? That's why it manifests fast when you give up and just forget about it, because you never give up. You're just giving up the resistance. You're just giving up the waiting, right? You're giving up the desiring. You know that to desire it is to have it. You're moving to, you're giving up that idea that I am not who I desire to be. And standing in that absolute knowing that I am who I say I am. I am who I imagine I am. I am who I assume and affirm I am. That's what we're talking about. I am your host, Tom Kearin, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, thank you. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for liking and sharing and commenting on our videos. Thank you for being part of our Facebook group, the ambassadors at facebook.com/groups/BeSomethingWonderful, for joining us on Instagram and Twitter at Tom Kearin, for joining us on TikTok at Be Something Wonderful, or anywhere on social media at either Tom Kearin or at Be Something Wonderful. You can find us. And for being for being part of the membership channel. If you're a member, thank you for joining. Don't forget, in a week, I believe, from this Saturday, we have our third live stream of the year, our third live event, where I'm going to answer your questions that you're sending to us at info@besomethingwonderful.com. This is going to be exclusively broadcast on the Be Something Wonderful membership channel. So if you're a member, join us. If you're not, check it out. Creators, with great love, with great light, and infinite gratitude, this is Tom Kearin here in the studios of Be Something Wonderful in Las Vegas. Until next time, we'll see you soon.